As we have seen, objects can have properties which are key value pairs that hold data. Properties are the main way of storing and accessing data in objects, and they can have different types and values. For example, we can have properties that hold strings, number, booleans, arrays, or other objects like this. As you can see, we can nest objects inside other objects, creating complex and hierarchical data structures. We can also have properties that hold functions which are called methods, and we will learn about methods in our next video. Now, properties are the main way of defining the characteristics and attributes of an object, and they can be added, modified, or deleted at any time. Now, we are going to talk about how we can access these properties. Now, to access the value of a property in an object, we can use two different ways: the dot notation or the bracket notation. The dot notation is the most common and preferred way of accessing object properties, and it consists of writing the object name followed by a dot followed by the property name. For example, to access the name property of this person object, we can write like this. First the name of object, and then in this object we want to access this name property. Then our period sign, then name. Now if we log this into our console, you can see in our console we have John. Now this dot notation is very simple and easy to use, but it has some limitations. For example, we cannot use the dot notation if the property name is not a valid identifier, such as word with spaces or a number. We also cannot use the dot notation if the property name is stored in a variable or an expression. For example, we cannot write like this. Let's say we have a variable called first name which is equal to this name key like this. Now if I write console.log person dot first name, you can see we are getting undefined. This is because we don't have any property on this person object which is called first name. In these cases, we have to use the bracket notation, which consists of writing the object name followed by a pair of square brackets followed by the property name as a string. Now we can write console.log, then object name, then square brackets, and now here we can use this first name variable like this. Now if I hit save, you can see now we have John in our console. Now if we are using this bracket notation, then we have to write the key name of the property in a string like this. Now let's say we want to access the age using bracket notation. We can write console.log person, then square bracket, then the key name is age, which we have to write in the form of string. And now if I hit save, you can see we have our age which is 25 in our console. Now this bracket notation is more flexible and powerful than this dot notation, and it can be used with any property name. However, it is more verbose and less readable than the dot notation, so it is usually used only when necessary. Now to access a nested object property, we can use a combination of the dot notation and the bracket notation, depending on the property names. For example, to access this street property, we can write like this. First, I am going to show you how we can access this using our dot notation. First the name of the object. Now after the name of the object, we have to use our period sign. Now to access this street property, first we have to access the address property, because in this address property we have this street property. So first of all, I am going to access this address property. If I hit save, now you can see we have this object. Now in here we have street property. Now again I am using dot, and then here we have street property. Now if I hit save, you can see we successfully accessed this property by using dot notation. And now the second way is using the bracket notation. So first I am writing console.log, then the object name, which is person. In here we want to access this address property, so we need to write the property name in the form of string like address. Then now we have this object, so again using our bracket notation, and now we are going to access this city property. So simply we need to write the city name in here. If I hit save, you can see we have our city in our console. And these are the two ways through which we can access the properties of our object. Now I want to show you how we can access this reading value from this array which is in our person object. So first I am using console.log, then the object name which is person, then dot. Now this array is in hobbies. So person dot hobbies. Now if I hit save, you can see we have our array. As you know, to access the values of an array, we need to use bracket notation like this. Now after this, we have to specify the index of the value that we want to access. In our case, we want to access this first item, so its index is 0. And now if I hit save, you can see now we have the value that we want to access from this array. So this is how we can access the properties of an object. And now I want to show you how we can add a new property in our object. Now let's say we want to add height property in this person object. Now before adding, I just want to log this person value to show you this person object don't have any height property. Now to add a new property, first we have to write the name of the object, then period sign, then the property name that we want to add. In our case, we want to add height property, then our assignment operator. After this, we have to specify the value for this height property. So because this is height, we are going to use a numerical value, like we can say 54. Now if I hit save, now if I expand this object, you can see here is our height property which is set to 54. And this is how you can add a new property into any object. Now I want to show you how you can change the value of any existing property, like how you can change this age, which is right now 25, to 50. Now to change this age, we have to do this same thing. First person name, then period sign, then the property name that we want to change, which is age, then our assignment operator. Now after this we have to set the new value, which is 50. Now if I hit save, and if we expand this object, now you can see our age is 50 and our height is 54. And this is how we can change our object properties. Now the last thing that I want to show you is how we can delete the property from our object. Now let's say you want to delete this hobbies property from this object. Now it is very simple. Just use this delete keyword, then person object name, then period sign, then the property that we want to delete. In our case, we want to delete this hobbies property. Now I am selecting this. Now if I hit save, you can see now we don't have hobbies in our object. We have address, age, height, married, and name. So this is the way through which you can delete any property of any object. And that's all that I want to show you in this video. In our next video, we are going to learn about JavaScript object methods. Now I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, give us a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more exciting web development tutorials. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Keep coding, keep creating, and I will see you in the next video.